welcome. It's great to see a lot of new faces here at ODOT. We're going through a great state of transition. It's truly an exciting time to be in transportation and to be at ODOT. And you'll get a feel for that over the next 2 days. And so what I will do in this initial session is just provide a high-level overview of project delivery. And as we go through the Project Delivery Academy, the whole point of this academy is to provide you with the breadth of project delivery. So ODOT's a very, very large organization, and we have a lot of moving parts. And the hope that I have for each one of you is, one, network. Get to know each other because you are the future of ODOT. Secondly is you understand how your position, your role, fits within the broader context of the organization. So although we're project delivery, we're part of a larger ODOT. We have TDD here, we have motor carrier here, we have all parts of the organization here. And so as presenters come up, think about how your body of work and your role within ODOT may impact those upstream or downstream of you. I always like to start with the agency mission statement and the vision, mission, values of the organization. I think that's the foundation of who we are. And so ODOT's mission is that ODOT provides a safe and reliable multimodal transportation system that connects people and helps Oregon's communities and economy thrive. That is our mission statement. That's who we are. And so much of the work you do will contribute to that mission statement. Because ODOT has been going through a transition with the passage of House Bill 2017, we embarked on a strategic business plan. And that plan is really the catalyst that's going to guide the agency over the next 5 years on what our priorities are. We did a refresh of our mission statement. We've identified some values, and I'll just quickly touch on those. I'd like to start with the agency values. So we have 5 values: integrity, safety, equity, excellence, and unity. And I would encourage all of you to get to know those values and how they resonate with you, because at the end of the day, we use those values to guide our behaviors and make decisions. I use those values when it comes time to make some decisions in the work that I do. I look at the mission statement, safety's in there, reliability's in there, making sure that the decisions that I make, ultimately I have filters, and safety is one of those filters I use. Are we being safe? The 5-year vision. To sum it up in a few words, it's about being that employer of choice. How can we be the employer of choice within the transportation industry? How do we deliver transportation solutions? Be positioned to deliver transportation solutions. And how do we be a leader in transportation? So there's a lot going on in the industry. And so what steps are we taking to lead the conversation or be part of that conversation? There's a lot of new technology that's underway now. What we've done is we're sending employees across the country on peer exchanges, on research projects in DC, Federal Highways, Transportation Research Board, or AASHTO, and participating on different standing committees. And so looking to how do we advance the practice and not just maintain status quo. What you'll see, and what you may have seen over the last year, is a lot on the strategic business plan as it relates to priorities. So we have the 4 priorities: governance, and that's really looking at the alignment of the department, the Transportation Commission, the legislature, and the governor's office. And so how are we aligned as an agency? And I think there's an email that might have come out yesterday about the new agency leadership. It used to be called the council, now it's the agency leadership board. And there's other councils and committees that are being formed to help align the agency in terms of governance and what those priorities are. The second piece is workforce. We know we are extremely challenged on the workforce front. So as an agency, how can we be one that is that employer of choice, the one where we can focus on recruitment, retention, employee development, employee growth, and leadership? And we have a lot of programs that we've launched, the Transportation Leadership Institute, Transportation Leadership Academy. We've had the Project Development Quarterly meeting yesterday. We have this Project Delivery Academy today. End of the month, we have the Technical Discipline Academy. So building that body of knowledge for our employees and equipping them to be successful in their jobs. There's a task force on leadership development and competency as it relates to workforce. So you'll start seeing more emails and information coming about workforce initiatives. Tech and data is another big one. Technology is moving at an incredible pace. And how, as an agency, how do we go about managing our technology? Not just maintaining the existing systems, but advancing that technology to leverage efficiencies in the work that we do. There's many, many systems that we have within ODOT, and looking at how we can help with our work. With House Bill 2017, there's a big effort about transparency, and how do we ensure that we have data to show that we can be transparent with the projects and information that we have. And then data. ODOT is an agency that generates tremendous amounts of data, and we have a lot of rich data. How do we manage that data, and how do we report out on that data? And then lastly, strategic investment. With changing priorities, how do we go about, as an agency, ensuring that we have those resources to support those priorities? A large agency like ODOT, sometimes it's hard to move people around, and so looking at ways to be nimble. And I think there's new positions that are being generated with technology. There's others that are continuing to just do production work. But there's, I think, as we move forward, organizational tweaks, adjustments, and how do we, again, align the funding with the priorities we have within the organization. And so more information will be flowing as each of these priorities continue to mature. So you'll see this a lot. If you work in the land of project delivery, you'll see the transportation system lifecycle. There's actually a council that's been formed, the Transportation System Council, that's looking at engaging Highway Division, Motor Carrier, Transportation Development Division, and I believe Transportation Safety, and looking at how that governance body can help inform the priorities of this portfolio within ODOT. So what I'll do is kind of briefly walk through the transportation system lifecycle. This is our world, and what you'll find is that over the course of the next 2 days, we will have speakers that come in. Right after our session, I got planning coming in, and I got STIP coming in, which is really on the front end of the system lifecycle, so the program development piece. So oftentimes, people ask the question, where does a project come from? And I think the program development piece to be the birthing of a project. So with planning and various management systems that we have within ODOT, whether it be a bridge management system or pavement management system, that's where projects are identified. And as those projects are identified, we compare that with funding, and we start generating project lists, and you get to the 150% lists. Our Transportation Commission sets performance targets across the different programs. Those program managers get a targeted amount of funding over a STIP cycle, and they will generate these 150% lists. Regions go about scoping those projects, and ultimately going through a public involvement process, we'll get down to a 100% list. Once we have the 100% list, those projects sit for about 2 to 4 years. So they get programmed into STIP, and then they sit for 2 to 4 years, and that's where we start resourcing those projects. So today we are in the 1821 STIP, Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, but the regions have recently wrapped up or in the process of wrapping up the 2124 STIP. And by next year, we will have programmed those STIP projects. And then they sit, so once 21 comes around, that's when we'll start working on those projects. So there's this transition from planning into the world of project delivery. Again, transition period, 2 to 4 years. And then many of you will get involved with project teams, the project development teams where a project has been funded and assigned a project leader. ODOT may determine that we're going to design this project in-house using ODOT engineers, or we may outsource the project. And there may be instances where we'll do a hybrid where we keep some of the work in and augment that project team with consultants to help with that work. So project team is established, and they're looking at this project, fleshing out scope, schedule, budget, identifying risks, getting up to about that 30%, the design acceptance milestone, where the project team will say, okay, we have a pretty good sense of what the project is. Beyond 30%, moving forward into the development phase, this is where you're really going into production design, where you're now putting the plans, specs, and estimates together for that contract document for the contractors to bid on and construct the project. So at PSNE, you actually have a set of plans, specs, and estimates. And the cool thing today is everything's digital. It used to be paper copies. You'd get a box, and if you're in Region 4 or 5, drive it to Salem. Now it's all done through ProjectWise. Hit the button, and Salem can print them out, review, do their QC, ensure everything's ready to go. And then if it passes muster, we get to the advertisement, bid, and award phase. So we bid projects weekly. Bid openings are every Thursday. We're very strategic in how we bid those projects. Time of year is critical for certain types of projects, and how many projects we bid on a Thursday is critical, and the types of projects. We don't want to have 5 paving projects go on the same week. Once we bid those projects, we have bid openings, and 98% of the projects that we open go through what we call the low bid process. So our delivery method is primarily design, bid, build, and part of that is going through that low bid. You know, you have, say, 5 or 6 bidders. We go through a cost estimating process. You open bids, and whoever that lowest responsive bidder is the one that gets the contract. We're exploring other delivery methods besides low bid. You may have heard of design, build, and CMGC. Those are other methods that we're looking to leverage in our new portfolio of projects. So after we've identified that low bidder, we will issue a notice of intent to award, and we'll then have our construction offices. What they do is they will administer that contract, but they will engage the contractor and start having communications with that contractor. After communication with the contractor and getting the schedules lined up, we actually start that construction phase, where we issue a notice to proceed, the contractor mobilizes their equipment and starts that contract work. The construction offices at ODOT, what they do is they administer the construction contract. We have inspectors, we have quality assurance, and we have other support systems in place to support those construction offices that are managing the construction contractors and their subcontractors. Once the contract is complete, so depending on the size of project and duration of project, we'll hand that project off to maintenance. So construction projects, usually about a year to 2 to 3 years, depending on, again, type and size of project. Upon construction completion, the project will then be handed off to maintenance to continue to maintain those improvements. So that is just a quick fly through, and we're going to have representatives from construction, maintenance, planning here to talk a little bit more in depth of their body of work and how it relates to project delivery. I thought what would be helpful is to give you some context of where we've been. And I mentioned earlier, it's an exciting time to be in transportation and where we're headed. So in the current STIP cycle, our annual volume of construction is about $370 million a year. And we have approximately 800 employees that directly support delivering of that volume. And the 800 employees are located throughout ODOT. So we have the 5 regions. Many of you are from the regions. We have Technical Services Branch, Steve's section. We have procurement, we have civil rights, and we have STIP. So we have a lot of others that project charge. But when we add up everybody that project charges each year, it's about 800 positions. In 2017, we turned in about 200 positions. So let me back up. Back in 2012, 2013, looking at the horizon of funding, there was a cliff. There wasn't any optimism that we're going to get funding. So ODOT took the proactive step of cutting positions. So we ended up identifying 200 positions to turn in because we just could not sustain the positions. So prior to, say, 2017, we were upwards of about 1,000, turned in 200 positions. And at that time, our program, we were outsourcing about half our work, the design work. Half of it was being delivered by consultants, half by ODOT. On the construction side, about 1/3 of our construction contract administration, so the CPMs managing consultants that were managing our construction contracts. So that's where we were. And here's the mountain chart. And what you'll see about the mountain chart is the purple is our traditional STIP program, and that's our fix-it, so preservation, bridge, operation, safety. We had a significant infusion of funding through the OTIA program, the Oregon Transportation Investment Act 1, 2, and 3, but those were one-time programs. It was a ramp up, ramp down. We had Connect Oregon. We had ARA, that was the Obama American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, the stimulus program. And we had JTA. And JTA was another program where it was kind of a shot of funding, but a lot of those projects were earmarked projects. We didn't get funding for a sustained increase in the purple, which is really maintaining the existing assets that we have today at ODOT. So where are we after House Bill 2017? So House Bill 2017, Keep Oregon Moving, was what I would consider a historic funding package for the state of Oregon. We got a 10-cent gas tax increase, and this is ongoing sustained funding. It isn't a ramp up, ramp down. It's not we're borrowing or bonding. It's a huge increase in funding for ODOT. In 2018, we got a 4-cent gas tax increase. And then every other year, there's a 2-cent gas tax increase through 2024, so a total of 10 cents. What's interesting about these gas tax increases is because of the level of funding, the legislature actually imposed triggers or conditions that ODOT had to meet in order to qualify for the gas tax increases. The good news is we're well on our way to meet the conditions for the gas tax increase in January of 2020. In addition to transportation funding, it was a multimodal package, a comprehensive package. Transit was a huge winner out of House Bill 2017. So on your pay stubs, you'll see there's a transit tax. 0.1% of payroll tax goes to transit. And they estimate that's going to generate about $100 million a year for transit across Oregon. And there was vehicle registration fees and other taxes that applied to this new funding program. And now you'll see the mountain chart with the forecasted funding with the passage of House Bill 2017. So the HB 2017 projects, those are the named projects in House Bill 2017. Those are the earmarks, so those are ramp up, ramp down. But you'll see the HB 2017 Fix-It. That's the gas tax increases that we got. So our program now jumps quite substantially, increases by 50%. And so for those House Bill 2017 projects, they were named projects in the bill. They're dispersed throughout the state. Some of those projects went to ODOT. So some of the notable ones up in the Portland metropolitan area, Rose Quarter, I-205, here in the Willamette Valley, Donald Aurora interchange. So there's a number of projects. Local agencies received a lot of projects as well. But our funding program, I mentioned earlier, was about $370 million a year. It went up to $560 million a year. And so part of the conversation with the legislature was, well, if you're going to get this kind of funding, what do you need for positions? And that's always very difficult to ask in a time when there's a lot of public scrutiny of positions. And so we went back to the legislature and said, just give us back the 200 positions that we turned in. We're not asking for more. And that seemed to be a legitimate ask. And I heard that it was very contentious. But we got about 192 positions specific to delivering our program. It wasn't a one-for-one. So our funding went up about 50%, but our staffing went up about 24%. So then how do you make up the difference? Well, the way we're making up the difference is now we're outsourcing is going up from about half to about 70%. And we feel like that's a pretty good number. If we outsource 70%, we can still maintain competency, maintain that strong honor roll, and leverage the industry to help with delivering our portfolio. House Bill 2017 also called for increase in transparency, accountability, and efficiency. And you'll hear throughout the next 2 days some of the measures that are playing out with how we're meeting those requirements. And the bottom line is we've been asked to do more with less. I would imagine that a lot of you that are fairly new that have been hired are a result of either the 39 or the 111 positions that have come online, whether that be directly or indirectly. What we saw was with these new positions coming online, wanting a strong honor roll, we had higher level positions, and we had a lot of internal staff promote into those positions, thus creating other vacancies within ODOT. So how do we support a program like this, a monumental program, $500 million a year or more if you include the earmark projects? This is the org chart of our division prior to House Bill 2017. So what you'll see is we have the 5 regions, and within the regions are structured to have a technical center, a construction, and project management. And in headquarters, we had a strategic business services unit that really helped with process improvement, continuous improvement, workforce, and a technical services branch, which was kind of a one-stop shop for everything. What we've done is we've shifted away from that and created a new statewide project delivery branch, which I oversee. And within the statewide project delivery branch, what we've done is I've structured the organization to where we have lined it up with the regions. So within the project development section, which Tamara is overseeing, it's going to line up with the area project leader world. So if you're in the world of project management, project development, there's a one-stop shop to support project management. In construction, if you're in the world of construction, you can go to Joe Squire in the construction section for all things construction. And we have a very mature construction program, manuals, policies, processes. And if you're in the world of technical engineering, the technical centers in the regions line up well with Steve Cooley and the portfolio that he has with engineering and technical services, a one-stop for all things technical. The area that our focus is on for the next year, 2 years, is really developing this new project development section. We haven't had this section, and we're trying to elevate project management as a discipline within the organization. If we take a deeper look into my branch, we have, again, I mentioned construction section, a project development section, and then technical services and engineering branch. And so Steve has these disciplines that really support delivery. And at the end of the day, the vision and mission of the statewide project delivery branch is to support ODOT and is to support the successful quality delivery of projects on time and on budget in the regions. We have a lot of moving parts, and I thought I would just provide some insight as to some of the work efforts and initiatives underway within the branch. So certainly supporting the delivery of House Bill 2017. What's that look like? Being that resource to support the regions with delivery, whether it be alternative delivery or cost estimating or scheduling. Forming the new project development section, which will consist of a project management office, a project controls office, an operations component, as well as programs, value engineering, risk management, data. Establishing a standard of practice. So prior to House Bill 2017, there was a lot of autonomy in the 5 regions. And as our program volumes increased and us not getting the necessary staffing levels, what it's triggering is more resource sharing amongst the regions. And what we've discovered is in construction, we can resource share, no issues. You can go from one office to another and the processes are the same. Technical, for the most part, if you're a roadway designer, you're a roadway designer. You might have some minor process differences here and there, but for the most part, you can tap into another region for a technical, and it should be pretty seamless. But on the project management side, what we found is we're operating 5 different DOTs within Oregon. And we heard that from consultants. Consultants that work across the state say, yeah, when we work for Region 2 and Region 4 or Region 5, the processes are different. The deliverables are different. And so part of the challenge is if we want to resource share, we have to have that standard of practice across the project development lifecycle, so that if I have a traffic designer in Region 4 that's being loaned to Region 3, the quality control processes are the same, the deliverables are the same, the expectations are the same. And so that's an effort related to standard of practice. Looking to integrate technology. So we have existing systems online, we have old systems that we're looking to retire, and we have new systems coming online such as AASHTO-WARE, pre-construction, AASHTO-WARE civil rights, AASHTO-WARE construction. And how do we leverage those systems to integrate within the existing systems we have today? We don't have a project management software platform today, and something that I think there's a definite need for that. Performance measures, looking at establishing performance metrics. So in the land of construction, we have key performance metrics with on-time and on-budget delivery for construction. We don't have anything in project development. I can't tell you today if a design project is being delivered on time. Improving quality control and quality assurance. We recently had an audit that was looking at QA/QC for design. That audit's been completed. Good news is we do QA/QC, but it's inconsistent across the 5 regions. And looking at a standard for how we apply QA/QC across ODOT was one of the recommendations. Looking at risk and value engineering. So for some of the larger projects, how can we be more proactive in looking at managing risk for our projects and standing up a new risk management value engineering program. Scheduling. We have schedules, but they're not reliable or necessarily accurate today. And so looking at ramping up schedulings, there's so much that relies on scheduling, from cash flow to funding obligation to program management, program leveling, resourcing, and of course the project management piece. Cost estimating, another realm where we can do better in terms of how we estimate costs, whether it's risk-based cost estimating or contingency-based cost estimating, looking at ramping up a unit to support the regions with cost estimating. We only really provide cost estimates at PS&E. We developed that engineer's estimate, and thinking maybe we want to provide a cost estimate, say at 30%, and are we in the ballpark, are we off? And if we're off, we can be more proactive early on rather than at the end and then a last minute scramble to try to find funding. Looking at alternative delivery methods. So in Oregon, 99% of the projects we deliver have been traditional design, bid, build. There are projects out there that are prime for CMGC, for design, build, for multi-parameter, or even for some of the smaller programs like ADA, where maybe design, build is the right approach. And so ramping up a unit that is establishing tools and resources to help inform what those projects might be. Rose Quarter up in Portland, $500 million project. We're looking at CMGC. We just jumped into the deep end of the pool and looking at getting that owner's rep on board, the A&E firm on board, and that CMGC contractor to deliver that project. And I truly believe that's the right approach for that project. Resource leveling, workload sharing, and outsourcing. As we look at our programs and what's coming our way, being much more deliberate in what we're going to keep in and having conversations about what are the right projects to keep in. Competency is certainly a big factor, but also bandwidth is as well. And what projects do we want to send to a consultant? And how do we workload share? I know there's a lot of workload sharing that's taking place right now across the regions. I know Region 4 is stepping up and helping out Region 1. Region 3 is also helping out Region 1 with staffing and taking on projects wholesale. ADA is a big deal for ODOT. We were sued, and we approached a settlement agreement and ensuring that we meet the requirements of the settlement agreement. So we have a whole unit and team dedicated to managing that program and ensuring that we are well on our way to meet the terms of that agreement. Right now it's primarily curb ramps, but the next phase is going to be pedestrian push buttons. On the workforce component, looking at training, such as this today, manuals, updating our manuals. We have a lot of outdated manuals, so looking at manuals to be that resource for the employees, and looking at other policies to be updated. And then mobility and work zone safety. It's a big deal for ODOT. At the end of the day, safety, I would say, is ODOT's #1 priority. We want to make sure everybody goes home safely at the end of each and every day. And it's extremely challenging today in our construction and work zones. Every year, we're hearing about incidents of impaired drivers in our work zones, and some resulting in pretty bad crashes and injuries. And so bottom line is we want to be, the statewide project delivery branch wants to be that go-to unit for all of you. So as you, in the course of your work, have challenges, something doesn't make sense, certainly reach out to us, to Steve, myself, Tamara, Joe Squire, and we'll help you navigate through the challenges and opportunities you face each and every day with your work. Obviously work within your regions first, but if you're encountering issues, whether it be a policy issue, a process issue, something that doesn't make sense, certainly let us know. So I talked kind of high level with my branch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Steve come up and talk about his branch, which is the engineering and technical services, and some of the areas that his team's going to be focusing on over the course of the next year.
So as David mentioned, I'm just going to go back to that one slide. We are a branch in a branch. So there was just a chief engineer and technical services branch position, and then it was divided into 2 roles. And we have 2 branches, more on the engineering and the technical side of the house. That's what I manage. It supports more than just project delivery. It supports the whole agency. TDD, the Transportation Development Division, the Planning Group, the Safety Division, Motor Carrier Division, also maintenance. So it's everything engineering and technical is housed in that branch. But we're all part of statewide project delivery. Here's a smaller version of just the actual disciplines. We have engineering automation, which includes the survey, geometronics group, environmental section, and a new, which I'll talk about, the new geotechnical engineering and engineering geology section that we are adding as part of the federal highway audit that we just had done on us last year. The bridge section, traffic roadway section, which does include the access management, and also the ADA unit is housed in that one, and then the right-of-way section. So, engineering and technical services, what are our overall responsibilities? Well, just like everyone else, we're looking at the House, how do we help support the delivery of House Bill 2017? The ADA program, as David mentioned, we have to deliver that. That's within my branch. And then implement the four main priorities in the strategic business plan. So just a little bit, as far as headquarters, we do more than manuals and training. That's what I always hear a lot of, but we also are supporting directly two PS&E packages in different sections. Bridge section, that was centralized back, so all of any bridge deliverables within your projects are being done by our bridge section. The survey and geometronics, they are collecting and probably performing the original ground survey and delivering that as part of the PS&E process. The right-of-way, when we decentralize into tech centers, some of the right-of-way functions were maintained in headquarters there related to appraisal review and condemnation and so on. There's other processes there that they still perform on every single project, on every single right-of-way file. Environmental, we maintain those programmatic permits that you use continuously, and there's more to it than just signing on the permit and keeping it there. We have to maintain that, work with the regulators, and on project-specific applications, work with each of the teams for those projects, along with performing the noise studies. We retain that in headquarters, and historic research, and some of those cultural resources are still performed for some of the regions, especially regions 3, 4, and 5, through headquarters staff. Then the traffic roadway, they review and approve all of the signal and interchange designs as through your plan review process during project delivery. So there's quite a bit more than just writing manuals. We also engage on the projects, on project delivery. But that is one of our main roles: provide standards, best practices, manuals, quality control and quality assurance, core competency program, and provide training, as David mentioned. But we also are charged with advancing the practice in all of the engineering and technical disciplines, and we do that through participation on national committees where we influence what national standards are, like through AASHTO, for example. We participate in research and on TRBs. Statewide, we partner with other DOTs and do peer exchanges on the latest techniques. And also, as David mentioned, technology is really exploding in all of the disciplines. It just used to be a few, but now everybody is having a digital solution or tools and things. So we work with the regions to try to develop up what are those tools that we should be using, and how do we get those advanced. And technical resource, and I put down agency support, just as I mentioned. We're more than just project delivery support. We cover the whole agency, and even extended out to the local agencies. For example, the state traffic engineer has authority over all traffic control devices on all public roadways. So it's not just state highways, it's cities and county roads, for example. So there's with all the delegations, there's quite a few through statute that directly call out certain staff. So it's a broader picture there. So we want to be that resource. We want to be the resource for project support. We can come and have technical experts there that can sit in on project teams, help you work through a particular issue that you're stuck on, and so on. And then design exceptions and deviations. We're the keepers of the best practices and policies and procedures, but we're also there to help you through that particular project situation where we can't quite meet the standard, but we can go through a deviation or a design exception with the right justification there. And then program management. There's the bridge program, the arts program, which is the safety program, material source programs. There are several programs that we manage and collect all the asset information on those and program the funding, payments program, and so on. So again, I keep looking through the same goggles as you all. We got to deliver the House bill, the ADA program, and the strategic business plan, and we all have to be aiming at the same target. So that's part of the strategic business plan, is to get us all in alignment. So some of the initiatives that I'm going to share with you that we're working on we're looking through those lenses and making sure those are the priorities that we need to help advance these initiatives or the programs that we have before us. Considering that we're going to have to outsource about 70% of our program, so what are the things that we need to put in place that will set us up for success there? One of the programs that we need to deliver everywhere is ADA program. We got about 15,000 ramps, or I'm sorry, 25,000 ramps that we have to deliver in 15 years. Dick Upton is the program manager for that, and he is incorporating that into our Fix-It program, so it's going to be another program. It'll be scoped, and projects will come out the other end like our STIP projects to meet those milestones that we have in our settlement agreement. But until then, we're doing some pilot projects and working on ways to reduce the cost per ramp so that we can complete as many as we can with a reasonable price. So we're heading up that. As David mentioned, quality control, quality assurance, each of the disciplines are currently working on their own discipline-specific quality control plans per deliverable. The Geo-Professional Group went as part of their review. They have developed their program, and they're actually kind of being used as the model, along with our Bridge program, who had a pretty sophisticated quality control, quality assurance program. The other disciplines are updating their processes and coming into alignment. And we're also using some facilitation help to help those disciplines to reach the statewide consistency on what we do, and that'll flow into the overall quality program that includes the phase gates and the risk-based reviews on our deliverables. Manuals. We have a lot of manuals, I'll just tell you. We have about 129 of them, and we're not going to be able to work on all of those at the same time, but we're trying to be strategic on what are the manuals that we really need to put in people's hands right now, right before we start outsourcing and ramping up for all that work that we're, about 2024, 25, it'll start hitting us pretty good. So all of those manuals are referenced in those work orders, so we need to have them updated, and we have a plan in place, and we're using some consultant help to do some technical writing for us to speed that up. Advanced investigations, that's an initiative that's already underway right now. We're in a pilot phase where it's basically going out and collecting additional information that you don't have time to do during scoping. So some of the Bridge program, there's 3 programs that we're piloting: pavements, bridge, and engineering, geology, and landslides. So a lot of you will discover that some of your surfacing designs may change as you develop the project, and that does have impacts to your cost and schedule. So this is preliminary work that's going to help reduce the scope changes and the cost overruns there, along with the Bridge program as well. Work zone safety, it's been a big initiative. Matt Garrett sits on this committee. He's held it since for the last 5 years with industry partners from trucking, AAA, motor carrier, AGC, the safety division, law enforcement, and others to try to work on how do we improve work zone safety and change our culture on how we develop our staging for our construction projects. And you might have heard some at the other meetings of the 11 pilot projects we have. We have 6 this summer that we're constructing. We constructed 2 last year, and we're developing a new process to kind of incorporate that into our normal way we do it. We won't call them pilots anymore, but we'll get the input from industry so that we can make our work zone safer. Technical Discipline Academy, it's kind of like this, targeted for we have a lot of new technical and engineering staff coming on board, so this is their academy to kind of get the overview of who we are, where the resources are, how the disciplines interact, and just overall project delivery process. Federal Highway Review, we're implementing the recommendations made by Federal Highway. There were 6. One of the big ones was to create a geotechnical engineer, and that's what I've done with the engineering section. I'm in the process of waiting for DAS to reclassify classify the position correctly so I can go ahead with the recruitment. But we have all the other things that came out, the quality control, the core competency program, and we're moving forward with those other recommendations, and hopefully we'll hear soon from DAS so I can start recruiting for that position. Refocusing the discipline teams, that's an initiative that we started on our own, but Highway Division has kind of also jumped on board and wanted to clarify our authorities and how we make decision making, and there's a whole process that we're going through right now with all of our discipline teams. You may have heard the leadership teams are all going away, but we will still have some type of teams, whether they're called peer groups or advisory groups, but positions have delegated authorities to make decisions, and we're going to figure out new ways to collaborate so we have informed decision making. And then optimize and modernize technology. We're already doing quite a few things with 3D design and automated machine guidance and mobile scanning and et cetera, but there's still a lot more work to do. And there's some governance coming down from our agency leadership board now. They've developed a technology and data subcommittee and two other sub-teams under that. I'm on that technology and data subcommittee that's supposed to set agency-wide governance on how do we manage our technology, what are some of those policies that we need to have in place. And then I also sit on the engineering automation team. But we are currently working on an upgrade to Open Roads, some modifications to ProjectWise, and then, as David mentioned, AASHTO-Aware. But this is the overall kind of a structure. We got the agency, well, it was the leadership council. Then data technology is up there setting that overall statewide policy, but currently you have all those COIs is for the community of interest of all the project needs. And then engineering automation feeds into that, but we're just trying to get organized. So there's a lot more conversations to be had on how do we structure and have, get it through our process. Did I finish on time? All right. I tried to talk fast there to get through. I don't know if we have time for questions, but
we have a little bit of time, sure.
On that one of the slides, I had a resourcing strategy, and the purpose for that is to, when we have a core competency program, it'll be able to kind of measure where we're at, the health of each of the disciplines, and then the other piece to that program is that what does it take to go from one, a beginner level to an intermediate level to an expert level. And with that, it'll be training, but it's not just classwork training, it's also projects.